So the talk today is about self-talk, and as sometimes happens in this New Thought teaching, because there is one mind, that one mind reveals itself in different channels. So there's a story, and it's an old story, and it's told in a bunch of different ways that I was going to include in the talk. And then it turns out that when Carolyn picked the talk, she picked the story. So let's have Carla Ann, who is going to be reading the story, share that with us now.
The reading today is called Feeding the White Dog, and it's by Kathy Gottberg. The late Joseph Campbell once told friends that he was raised to believe literally that a tiny angel sat on one of his shoulders and a tiny devil on the other. Though he outgrew that idea, he acknowledged that we all embody and reflect opposing forces of light and dark. A Native American medicine man described the same opposition in a different way. He said that each person contains both a white dog and a black dog. The white dog represents our highest possibility, unconditional love, and our spirit in action. The black dog is ignorance, judgment, and fear. These two dogs, the medicine man explained, are in constant battle. When a young boy asked the medicine man which dog wins, the medicine man answered, "The dog I feed." Which dog do you feed? That is the question I've been asking myself lately. Anytime I participate in a conversation that promotes fear, judgment, or prejudice, I'm feeding the black dog. Anytime I watch the news on television and repeat the terror, anytime I share information about someone when I don't really know the truth, anytime I make others wrong in order to make myself feel right, I am feeding the black dog. Feeding the white dog seems easy. All it takes is remembering to live in the light. All it takes is recognition that life is whole, interconnected, and deeply loving. But even though the prescription sounds simple and positive, staying focused on the white dog, as most of us know, is sometimes a challenge. Why is this so? Several hundred years ago, Isaac Newton began developing mechanical laws to explain the forces of nature. In order to explain his famous law of motion, he had to imagine a couple of things. He had to imagine that there was a fixed background for everything that was empty, passive, and not affected by anything else. He called that fixed background absolute space. He also had to imagine that there was universal time that existed on all planets equally, and that was also not connected to or affected by anything else. He called this construct absolute time. Now remember, Newton made up these two absolutes. Absolute time and absolute space are only hypotheses. Unfortunately, the world became so enamored of Newton's laws that we now consider them absolute time and absolute space to be real. Somewhere along the line, we forgot that time is nothing more than a measurement of change. We also forgot that space is pliable. Even scientists like Einstein and the current crop of quantum thinkers who have long since proven that time and space are relative and flexible, have not convinced us to give up the mechanical, materialistic, dead worldview of time and space. Though Joseph Campbell's twin angels may be oversimplification, it also seems clear that we have a choice. We can go on acting as if Newton's static and linear world of absolute space and absolute time is real, or we can fight against that limiting perception and accept, using, if we need to, the ammunition of contemporary experimental science to prove to ourselves that the world we inhabit is vibrantly alive and interconnected. Space does not stop with me and begin with you. If we are truly one and our thoughts affect one another, all the thoughts I have and all the thoughts you have affect every person and everything on the planet. We even affect the earth herself. If I think of our planet as a dead world, a machine that is separate from myself, that is getting old and running down, I'm contributing to the Earth's destruction. If I act out of fear, competition, and judgment, as though I alone matter, I help create a dead world. However, if I remember that what I do to another person and what I do to the planet, I do to myself, then I'm helping to heal the earth. When we speak of wholeness, love, and possibility, we promote life. That's where the white dog comes in. The white dog is the light in ourselves and in the universe. It is waiting for us to feed it by our thoughts, intentions, and actions. Every moment of every day, we choose which dog we will feed. Feed the white dog. With everyone's help, it wins.
Thank you, Carla Ann. And the story is told as a dog and a wolf, a white dog and a black dog, two dogs. And the idea that those dogs exist, those are the voices in our heads. So those dogs have voices in our heads. Sometimes those dogs, it's a pack, and they've got lots of voices in our heads. I sometimes hear a committee talking in my head. And what do they say? What are those voices that are running in your head saying to you? Are they nice things? Are they gentle and uplifting things? Are they thoughtful and inspiring things? Are they critical and judgmental and negative things? Are they things like worry and negativity and anything else that's awkward or uncomfortable or difficult? And if you think about it, the voices that you're hearing in your head, do you talk like that to other people? Do you say those sorts of things to other folks? Or is that something that you just do to yourself? And by the way, if you heard somebody else who was talking like that to someone who you love, would you make them stop? Would you say, that's completely inappropriate for you to be talking that way? Because a lot of times that self-talk that we have is unfiltered. And that's the place where we get to be unfiltered, because the filter happens between what's going on in our heads and what we're actually sharing with the rest of the world. So one of the things we do in our classes is we become aware of our self-talk so that we can understand what it is that we're talking about, and then we get to make a change with the things that we're going to be saying. We're very proud of ourselves. We're talking about science, and critical thinking is very valuable to us. It helps us understand and explain and define and put an anchor point in the world around us. And so a lot of us are very proud of being able to do that critical thinking. And then there's the notion of critical parenting, which is the messages and the lessons that our parents told us, and we're able to interpret that when we're younger as about it not being good enough, not being big enough, not being old enough, not being capable enough, not doing it right. And when those are the voices that we've got, it's like, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I can't get this right. There's not enough money, there's not enough time, there's not enough whatever it is. Those get anchored, and those become the voices and the words that those voices are repeating. And there could be, a black dog in your subconsciousness that's repeating stuff that you heard earlier, or extending it in fear and doubt and worry and the expectation of trouble. And we're carrying that around in our heads. So if you haven't done that before, spend a little time listening to what the voices in your head are saying. Because it's only when we're aware of them that we can make a choice about what we're going to do with them next. And those voices, the things that they're saying, those would be words. And in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word is creative. When the Word is released into the creative law that creates everything, the law says yes. The subconscious mind, the creative law, doesn't have the ability to evaluate. It doesn't understand whether it's the white dog talking or the black dog talking, if it's something intentional or it's something that is just critical parenting left over from the old days. The law says yes. The law says yes. And the law is the same one that we talk about in the law of attraction. Law of attraction is when we have an intention, we have an energy level, when we have a belief, then we tend to attract that experience and more of that into our lives. And that works wonderfully when we are activating the law of attraction intentionally because we want to create an experience of a new job or a loving relationship or health or comfort in our physical body. And prayer plays into that in a huge and important way as well. And when we're doing those things, we're feeding the white dog. We're taking care of ourselves. We're setting the intention for what it is that we want to have and opening the channel so that the law of attraction can bring those about. On the black dog side, on what we call the negative side, because it's just basically it's experiences that we want or experiences that we don't want. And the black dog is repeating things that are inviting experiences that we don't want. But you've probably heard the cute little saying, what you resist persists. And that's another way of explaining how the law of attraction works. If I am pushing against something, if there's something that I don't like, then that's going to have a tendency to show up in my life. Ouch. Not particularly comfortable. Another way that this shows up on our experience, and it was in the reading a little bit as well, you kind of read between the lines, is gossip. Gossip is when we're telling stories. I heard something about somebody, and I'm going to talk to somebody else about it. And it can be on a personal level. It can be on a global level, neighborhood-wide, whatever social groups we're in. There's a tendency to commiserate with somebody who's sharing an unhappy story. So somebody telling a tale of woe, then we, the saying, and I heard somebody say this yesterday, oh, I feel bad for her. Well, that doesn't help. Feeling bad because somebody else is going through difficulty. It's completely understandable to want to be present for them and to support them, but you feeling bad because somebody else is having a negative or an unhappy experience doesn't actually help anything. So what happens is, and I'll use what's been going on in politics for the last couple of weeks, the crisis of the debt ceiling and the U.S. economy tanking because people in our Congress and our government can't agree on what it is that we're going to do to make that not happen, even though the big picture answer was just don't do that. It's an easy solution. As we get into conversations about, well, what happens if the credit rating in the United States goes down and it tanks the economy? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for my savings? What does that mean for my retirement? What does that mean for my kids? What do I do? Do I buy gold? Do I get cash and put it in a mattress? And all of those ideas of fear and all of those discussions that we have with other people about how could this bad thing be happening, when we're talking to somebody else, when we commiserate, when we share those stories, what we are on the one hand doing is establishing connection. And there's camaraderie going on because I have a connection with that other person and we're sharing and we are focusing on the same issue. And we're feeding the black dog because we're giving more energy to those feelings of fear, to talking about what is not going the way that we want it to go. And it has the tendency to bring more of that into our experience. Now, it's not going to bring more debt ceiling into our experience. What it's going to do is bring more of those experiences and feelings of fear and negativity and doomsaying and gloom. And it'll happen when we're talking about the debt ceiling, and it'll happen when we're talking and understanding other areas of our lives, because it happens energetically. When we bring our energy level down, then we tend to be operating at a lower energy level. And I'll just say it, don't do that. The thing that we get to do, because we have this wonderful New Thought teaching, is when there's a conversation about this calamity that could be on the way and this catastrophe that might be happening, instead of just talking about the problem, what we get to do is pivot. Okay, I agree. This problem that we're talking about, this food that we're feeding our black dog, is not helpful. What do I want to feed my white dog instead? What do I want to have happen instead? And we get to feed our white dog. And we also get to feed somebody else's white dog. When we give somebody the gift of recognizing the good that they have in them, when we draw out their awareness and understanding of something new that's possible, we're energetically feeding their white dog, and that brings uplift for everyone. So when we encounter somebody else, we get to energetically engage with them and with the story and with what's going on. I heard a fascinating story, and it plays in with the Newtonian view of the world, which we still have. I mean, a lot of people think that the Newtonian view of the world is the only one that there is. Not that it's right, just that that's all there is. And quantum physics is telling us that that's not true. And the entire world of medicine is based on Newtonian physics. And it turns out that when we turn ourselves to using quantum physics approaches, that healthcare and medicine can work completely differently. And I'm not going to get into big detail about that. But there was a wonderful story that I heard this week, and it's about a research project that was studying deer. And the way that deer behave is they'll be hanging around in the woods doing whatever it is that deer do. And then suddenly the alpha deer, the biggest one in the herd, will head off in a direction and all the rest of the deer will follow. And this was observed and it was documented and it was explained, and if you Google online, you'll find an awful lot of stories about how the alpha in the herd is the one who leads the group. And then another group of researchers went out and they did the same observations again, and they saw something completely different. They saw something that had not been seen before. And once they observed it, other people were able to observe that as well. And what they saw was, deer basically only have three places they can go. They can go to the place to drink, they can go to the place to forage for food, they go to the place where they sleep. So that's whenever they're hanging around, there's only a few places that they might go. And what happens is, as the deer are wandering around the forest, munching, just being deer, they'll start looking in a particular direction. They'll look up, they'll look over in one of those three directions, and then go back to what they're doing. And then eventually, when all of the deer have been looking in the same direction, the biggest deer heads off in that direction and the rest of them follow. The big deer is not the alpha, is not making the decision about where they're going to go. The big deer is tallying the vote. And the difference between the first group that saw that happening and the later group that saw that happening is the first group was all men. And the second group was all women. And the men, with the idea and the understanding of alphas and patriarchy, when they looked at, and they were absolutely correct, the big deer was the one who left first and all the rest of the deer followed. But they weren't looking at the bigger picture. It was a failure, again, of imagination. So when we're doing stuff and we're making those observations, watch the observations that you're making. Is there an assumption in there? Is it possible there's something else that's going on? There's a pivot that's available that's going to let you experience that in a slightly or grandly different way. And as we get to use that critical thinking and dispense with what might be an assumption, there's a brand new possibility that comes along. When you find yourself having that self-talk, that negative self-talk in your mind that telling you that you're not good enough, you don't have enough money, you're not all the rest of that, first thing you can do is you can dismiss the committee. You say, okay, I don't know who these voices are, but these aren't things that I'm willing to say to myself. So you guys, if you're going to do that, just leave, and I don't have to hear it. If it's a committee, then I can adjourn the meeting and dismiss them and have the committee room to myself. And an even more powerful thing that you get to do is to change what those voices are saying. Instead of letting that black dog just go and repeat the words over and over and over again, you can give some words to the white dog. We do this in our Beyond Limits class. This is an RPA card, and the rapid pace affirmations are things that you get to plant into your mind and repeat these. And they're: I am worthy, I am prosperous, I am enough, I am beautiful. I am powerful. I am gifted. I am loved. Close your eyes and listen to that. I am worthy. I am prosperous. I am enough. I am beautiful. I am powerful. I am gifted. I am loved. I'm going to repeat it one more time and take it for yourself and see what you can do to believe that, to own these words for yourself. I am worthy. I am prosperous. I am enough. I am beautiful. I am powerful. I am gifted. I am loved. And that's actually true. That's actually true. And we've been doing this for a long time, and a couple of times when Emily was playing at New Thought Philadelphia, we gave out these cards, and she had one, and she actually wrote a song about it. So I'm going to join you in knowing your worthiness, your prosperity, your enoughness, your beauty, your power, your gifts, and the love that you are. And you get to take it for yourself as well, because you are all those things and more. So it is.